The second week of the trial of Republican former Ohio House Speaker Larry Householder and former Ohio Republican Party Chair Matt Borges is underway. After Monday's testimony was canceled because Judge Timothy Black wanted to wait until COVID test results were back. A juror tested positive and cut short court the first week. My Statehouse News Bureau colleague Andy Chow has been at the federal courthouse in Cincinnati for proceedings this week.
The big thing this week is that Special FBI Agent Blaine Wetzel has taken the stand for the prosecution, and he's been answering questions for the prosecution all week long. Now, basically what he's doing and what the prosecution is doing is going date by date throughout their whole timeline to explain the connection between First Energy, the 501c4 known as Generation Now, and Larry Householder, trying to connect all the dots between all the money that flowed into the dark money group and then end up being used allegedly by Larry Householder to rise to power, become House Speaker, then in exchange pass House Bill 6, which we know as the nuclear power plant bailout.
Now, there's been a lot of discussion of legal activities, such as raising money to build a team to elect somebody as speaker. Dark money is legal. Both those things are legal. How's the prosecution clarifying what is legal and what is not legal?
So what the prosecution is trying to connect is a story here, but from where they started with a meeting with First Energy executives and Larry Householder in DC to when he became speaker to when he passed House Bill 6. And what they've been doing is they've been showing date by date the different transactions and money transfers that took place between First Energy flowing into Generation Now, and then going back to those same dates and showing different conversations that people like Larry Householder and other co-defendants and Larry Householder associates with First Energy. So for example, in August of 2018, funds were lower in Generation Now than the prosecution showed different meetings and text messages that Larry Householder had with CEO Chuck Jones of First Energy. And then a day later, more money flowing into Generation Now. They've been trying to connect those dots and show that these different events and conversations all correlate to more money coming to Generation Now.
And some of the argument at some point in the prosecution is going to be where that money went and how it was used. There's the allegation that Larry Householder used some of this money for his own personal benefit.
Yeah, the personal benefit part where he did some renovations to his home in Florida, I believe that's going to be coming later. We've been expecting a witness, maybe I believe even the contractor for those home renovations to take the stand for the prosecution. At this point, what they have been showing is how the money has flowed from First Energy to different dark money groups like Partners for Progress to Generation Now, and then again to other 501c4s and other LLCs to do things like campaign for Householder supporters in their primaries, to pay for attack mailer ads against the people that were opposing these Householder supporters in the primary and in the general election, and to pay for radio spots, TV spots, again, a lot of ads, political ads, a lot of money going towards supporters of Larry Householder. Therefore, they can win their primary, win their general election, and as the prosecution says, go on to vote for Householder as speaker.
Now, the focus has been on Householder this week, but of course, Matt Borges is also on trial. Are we hearing about the prosecution's case against him, or is that coming later?
So as we're going chronologically, the issue with Borges, the allegations against Borges comes up later in 2019. And at this point, we haven't reached that part yet. But every now and then sprinkled in there are conversations with Borges and other First Energy lobbyists talking about such as the creation of House Bill 6, the creation of this nuclear power plant bailout bill, and where Borges and his lobbying firm, where his consulting firm works into all of that.
And you also heard some voices on tape. It's almost like this whole case was discovered by accident because Larry Householder was not the target initially.
Yeah, what we've known and what has become solidifying throughout this prosecution, throughout this trial, is that the FBI was already looking into former Columbus lobbyist Neil Clark, who has since died by suicide. They were already looking into him through a different unrelated investigation in 2018. They were tapping his phones through a search warrant that they had that was approved by the judge. They were tapping his phones and therefore heard these different conversations between Neil Clark and Larry Householder, talking about, among other things, the need for groups that want to get bills passed to put money into the C4, which was code, according to the prosecution from Larry Householder, to put money into Generation Now.
The defense has not started presenting its case yet, but they tried to make a case this week against the judge himself.
Yeah, one of Larry Householder's attorneys stood up and said that he believed there's some type of bias and that maybe this court is not the right court to be holding this. It's been brought up that Judge Timothy Black ran for Ohio Supreme Court, and that Householder about 20 years ago supported Judge Black's opponent in that race. Another issue that came up on Thursday was Larry Householder's attorney standing up and fighting back against some terminology that the prosecution's been using. U.S. Assistant Attorney Prosecutor Emily Gladfelter has been using terms like in this bribery or in this scheme. And the defense attorney said that they believe that that language is uncalled for because Larry Householder is still innocent until proven guilty.
And this comes after the judge also admonished Householder's lawyers for saying some things he didn't approve of or appreciate in his courtroom.
That's right. On day one, when Emily Gladfelter, the U.S. Assistant Attorney, was giving her opening statements, there were some murmurs, faces, clicking of pens from the defense side, and the judge asked them to stop doing that and actually called them unprofessional for doing that.
Also this week, Ohio AFL-CIO President Tim Burga asked Judge Black to quash a subpoena for him to testify for Householder. Burga said not only should he not have to take the stand, but that Householder's attorneys lacked what he called professional courtesy by not explaining to Burga the purpose for calling him as a witness. His motion also revealed the labor group got $1.4 million from Generation Now to help in the campaign to stop the attempt to put before voters a repeal of House Bill 6. The motion says the AFL-CIO took the money as long as it could control the content of the advertising against the referendum, and it would focus on the bill's benefits, such as the 4,000 jobs at the nuclear power plants.